I think I have one, but
They don't need to be lost.
yeah. Well, I feel like to myself, I feel like they're not that they're personal, like a diary, like that kind of personal, but I feel like other people just looking at them, I don't think they use them, they see them and use them the same way and interact with them the way that I do, so I don't think they would be that useful to someone else. Like to me, I really use it like a tool. I really, like a lot of different tools, and so I feel like other people, like they will have other different types of experiences, and so it's really not that important about what happens to, yeah, like the books. Like I'll take my book and like, I don't know, run over it or whatever. Like to me, it's not sacred. What's sacred is just the process of doing it. So the actual objects really they don't mean that much to me. Like there's one book, I just shot it like 30 times and just, it's like, oh man, the bullet stayed, got trapped in one of it, and then I taped both sides in like 22, right where the bullet is or something. But I don't know, I feel like it's more beneficial to me to interact with it in a way where it's not like regular art where you would have it and display it or something. I don't think of them like that really.
Do you ever do any work that's more standalone that someone might put on a wall, or do you kind of contain it within the studio?
When I did the sexual arousal month, I started getting bigger. Yeah, there's one slide that might not show too much. You could try it though. But I did use bigger paper and things. But I have this idea now because I was doing, for 10 years, I was doing like spoken word stuff and getting invited to perform at different museums. And what I was doing was I was putting my self-portraits in my spoken word performances because the museums and stuff weren't asking me like, hey, can we put your pictures in, or you want to be in this show? You want to be in this exhibit? So when they would invite me to do performances because I'm telling all these terrible things, trying to make people cry, and it's kind of like something novel or something. And so I felt like I'm getting to show my art in the Palais de Tokyo in Paris. This is like the coolest place. Look at my art. And so it was like a way of kind of like getting around it. But I didn't think of really having too much art exhibits, but every now and then the drug pictures, and then there was one experiment I did called Sensations, where, like I was saying, how only like if I feel something in my body, it's like a painful thing. It's not a pleasurable thing. Well, I wanted to have an entire book that was only good feelings, wonderful feelings. So my girlfriend and I did this experiment where we would do different things to each other, like whisper nice things in each other's ear, and then while we were drawing, and then capture what that felt like, and then we would like please each other sexually and draw that, and then but we would compare. We wouldn't see what the other person had drew until afterwards. We would compare, and so like some of them you could see side by side, like here's what I feel like, here's what she feels like, and some were the same and some were different, and those have been shown almost exactly as much as the drug pictures. But I never put them online because I felt like everything that goes online, it just gets cheapened right away. And to me, it's like really wonderful and beautiful. And it's like, I want more control over how people are, more respectful or something in a gallery. So, but oh, is it Twitch?
That book in the library too. That Ryan dropped off. If you're looking at
The sexual arousal, but that's different than the sensations experiment with her. But I did do a month. I don't know exactly how far it is. No, this is the same one, maybe. Is this a different?
Yeah.
Torture? Oh yeah, maybe this is it. Oh yeah, sensation. Oh, duh. Yeah, like this is ear nibbles. We were like nibbling on each other. We took turns nibbling on each other's ear. But see, because I draw myself every day, I was like more prone to put my face in it, whereas she was like more focused on her feelings of just that part. And then this is like we were spanking each other, and it was like really kind of silly. Heavy petting. But this one, I think there was 20 sets of different experiences we did. And it's nice. It's like a really nice book to have good feelings. Yeah, sexual arousal. I took Viagra. Someone gave me Viagra. This one is like, I think it's like 24 by 30 or something.
Where's that one at?
Where? This is on my living room floor. I took it, and all of a sudden, like I looked online, and it said like, don't take an aspirin because it's like a blood thinner, but you get a headache, so take like an Excedrin or something. I took what it said to take first, and then I took it. And then all of a sudden, I started getting really hot, and I was like, oh man, I might need to just go for a walk or something. Like I just felt like it's like, oh boy. And then I was like, well, as soon as I put my pants on and got dressed to go walking, I was like, well, I can handle this. And then not too much longer, I think it was what's called your prostate. It like pinned me to my floor. And I was like, it was like gravity was coming through the center of the earth right to my prostate and just holding me on that point like that. And then my erection, I just couldn't draw it big enough. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is 50 milligrams a typical dose?
I think so, but I think some people might take 100. Well, it wasn't pleasurable, but I could see how people would, if they need it, it could be like really helpful, but if you don't need it, it's not like a pleasurable thing. This one, face traces, this was the first time I ever thought to use color scientifically. And what I did was, while I was being sexually aroused, black was no sensation at all on a scale of 1 to 10. So like 1 would be like not sexually aroused at all, and then 10 would be white with the orgasm. And then I color coded all of the different sensations in between. And so I traced my face while I was being pleasured. And every time I felt a change in sensation, every time I noticed just a little difference, I would like step forward and then change to the different color like that. And then, you can't tell on this slide, but I always just kind of felt like every orgasm was the same, and I always just kind of felt like the whole point was to have the orgasm. But really, there's a whole other phase to sexual arousal that is like the best, and it's called the refractory period. And it's where after you have the orgasm, your body releases all these endorphins and like chemicals and stuff, just like the feeling. And so this was like this type of color over here afterwards, and like the orgasm, like every one is different, but they were all on big black poster board, because this is like life size of my head, like that. I'll show you the torture one. This one I did while being waterboarded, and my friends, like y'all know Vine. There used to be that app Vine. My friend was on Vine, and it was called Just Another Monday. And him and my friend Lisa, Brad and Lisa, would torture me, and I'd be like strung up, or they'd be dunking me, waterboarding me, like just another Monday, like looped over and over again in my friend Lisa's garage. And like they didn't want to hurt me, and so I'd say, okay, this week we're gonna be waterboarding me. And the reason why was because torture was like one of my fears. And so I was like, at the time, Syria, there was just starting this, like the revolution and civil war in Syria. And there was like really terrible YouTubes live. On Facebook, I belonged to the page Homs, which was a city in Syria. And they were posting videos. And like in the movies, you always see torture. It's like, give us this information, give us this information. But in real life, it's not about getting the information, it's about, we got you. We got you, and look what we can do to you. And so it was like really like messing with me. And so then I was invited a second year in a row to Switzerland to come and do a performance. And they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to do something about torture. Well, Michael Brown had been killed. His Geneva, Switzerland, where they have the convention, the Geneva Convention, rules against the treatment of prisoners. His parents went to Geneva to like speak out about what was going on in this country. And that was at the same time of this festival. We didn't know it until, I didn't know it until we got there. But I had asked him, I said, well, you want me to perform? Will you let John Duncan, my hero artist, do a performance with me? And then they were like, talk to him. I was like, yeah, sure. And so I told John Duncan, I was like, yeah, I want to be tortured and everything. And I memorized all of the Geneva Convention rules against torture, the United Nations rules about treatment prisoners, the Gonzalez memos about enhanced interrogation tactics. I memorized all this like legal stuff. And then John Duncan was like, yeah, well, you want to do this though? And I was like, well, in case this ever happens to me, I want to know what it's like in case, and I'd done another performance called Sign It, where there was this man in Tennessee where I live that the police wanted to rob him of his money and his pills, and they just like full on tortured him, but his wife recorded it on cassette tape. Someone sent me the cassette tape and I did this whole reenactment of it. And so I was a little bit familiar with this type of thing, torture, but he was like, oh, well, prepare yourself if you think it will help. I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's kind of ominous or something like that. And then he sent me the picture. I don't know if it's on here, but it's the one on the flyer for your class. This Apollo chair, and it's basically just a chair. In Iran, they would strap people to it and put this like type of a barrel over their head, but it said, if you don't have this type of barrel, just use a motorcycle helmet. And they would just like electrocute people, like shock them and like whip them and stuff. And well, he had the festival build this chair, but he modified it because it was like a music festival. And this is built purposely, like specifically for the size of a big giant monster bass amp, but it's on its side. So the bass is coming through, and it had like an optic sensor where you could just maneuver his hand. And the cook at the festival, John said to the cook, like, hey, can you help us with this? He's like, yeah, sure. And so the guy came over and was doing his hand and like making the bass come through, and there was a surround sound, like 4 big type of like speakers on the crowd. People passed out, like 2 people in the audience passed out. And they was just going like this. Well, the guy, it really blew my mind how easily you could just take someone and say, hey, can you help me out? And just be torturing someone. Like, it was just like that easy. Like you can imagine like in a war or something on the street, you just grab someone, hey, can you do this here? And that guy was like, no problem. Not against him or anything like that, but it was just like, it blew my mind that someone could just be asked to help out. It's like a performance. But so this bass is coming through me and going into this type of a helmet. And I was supposed to see out of here, but I had all this stuff memorized. So I kept trying to like shout my legal words. But then once it started, like, I thought this welding had come off and the helmet was just bouncing around on my head, but what it was the bass sounds from the cook going like this and just like looking like that, and his hand would move every time. I thought that, but it was really the sound was beating the shit out of me. And I was in the middle of saying all this stuff, and then I forgot my lines. And then all of a sudden, I just started saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It's the scariest thing. And I kind of was like embarrassed, you know, but it really, really blew my mind that this had been so ingrained into me as a child, that here I am doing this whole thing I prepared for months and months, you know, and then as soon as I forget, it's just like, you know, I pledge allegiance to the flag, just trying to hang in there. And he's like got a stun gun. Oh, and he had a contact mic on the stun gun, 5 million volts, and was like shocking me and doing the stun gun on the metal of the chair. And so it's just like that. And so many people after the performance were like, oh, I wanted to stop it. I wanted to stop it so bad. And then John Duncan's like, well, why didn't you? Anyone could have stopped it at any time like that. But under this type of context, like, it was really, really something. Now, here's what it looked like with all my friends Oh, can we go back to that other PowerPoint? I wanted to show that one slide, move forward real quick. Sorry about that. But here's where they were like waterboarding me with like an antifreeze type thing, smacking the bottoms of my feet and stuff. And my friends didn't want to hurt me. They knew I wanted to do it and like make a statement against torture and stuff like that. But we would have to keep doing it over and over again because they like really didn't want, they wanted to help me, but they didn't want to hurt me. But it had to, I don't know how to, this is where it is. Yeah, move forward. All the time I was doing spoken word. I could go anywhere in the world and do a spoken word performance. There was always someone in every town that was making this type of music that would have a montage of like human atrocities, like concentration camp, Hitler, like S&M, like just this type of thing. It was almost like a cliche. Like everywhere in the world there's people that were doing this. And then this performance he did, Move Forward, in 1984, was kind of similar. It was like this concrete room, and it was totally dark, and there was this sounds, like noise, for like 10 minutes, like shortwave radio and like different things, just like really, really, really loud. And after 10 minutes, then the projector comes on, and then it's like slow motion of this type of montage of like human atrocities. And then by the last 10 minutes of it, he lit this screen on fire, and then with the fire extinguisher, blasted the burning paper, it was a paper screen, blasted it into the crowd. And it was titled Move Forward. And so to me, I was like, wow, to think about this in 1984, there's someone already doing this type of thing, and yet people still has not moved forward. Like everywhere I go, I'm still seeing this type of thing. But I felt like move forward to me was like a directive, like an order or like an instruction, like, come on, people, we've got to move forward. So I would say all the time to myself, like, well, how though? How can I move forward? Like, how doing this type of tragic art and performances and like being extreme and trying to give psychopaths feelings and all this type of stuff, like, how can I really move forward? 2 times I emailed him and I said, yeah, but John, like, I really want to move forward, but how can I move forward? And then when I was making this PowerPoint, it came to me when I was writing in my journal, move forward by challenging myself. Even if it's just little challenges, this is how people move forward. By embracing challenge, accepting challenge, taking challenges upon yourself is how we advance, is how we grow, it's how we get past it and everything. So I just always, it spoke to me, so now I'm going to start rethinking about this idea of challenges. This is where I'm getting into sensory experiments and wanting to do more and more of them each year, instead of just like one every year or once or twice a year or something like that. Because I feel like evolution and stuff, how people advance, it's by having like environmental stress, different things that challenge us. And it's like, oh, well, we need to find a way to communicate, so we invent language. Oh, we have, how can we survive in this type of situation? How can we survive in this other situation? So to me, this is like one of the most powerful, inspirational type of things. Even though I never saw this performance, I've only seen this picture and then read this description about it. It has that type of influence. It's really, really important to me. So
when you conceptualize, like, find that, especially with like growing artists, like conceptualization is so hard. Like people either try to go way over the top to try, I gotta say something, or don't know how. So like when you're doing your pieces, be it something that takes on like the sensory stuff or the statements on torture, does it come to you kind of organically? Like are you kind of just kind of going through your motions saying, this is really important to me, and then you just begin? Or is it something you kind of go through and say, I'd really like to do this, and carefully kind of plot it out?
Yeah, usually it'll appear in my daily sketchbook, and it'll be like something I'll notice, like with the fluorescent lights. It's like, oh, I'm like really fluorescent light today. And so then over time, I'll like keep becoming more and more aware of it until it's like fully conscious, and then I'll be, oh, I should do something about that. But I won't necessarily like plan it all out. And when I went to be blind for a month, I totally didn't plan it out. And people were telling me like, oh, well, you can do these tricks, like do like certain little tricks to make life like smoother, like how to get around when you're blind and stuff. But I was like, no, I want to just figure it out. I don't want to like prepare too much at all. Because I felt like because see, well, a lot of it, I felt like when I would plan things out, it was usually because I was afraid or worried or would have some type of fear of something bad that could happen if I did it. And so then sometimes I would feel like, well, I just have to do it no matter what and just jump into it. But usually if I would think about it for a long period of time in advance, I'd kind of psych myself out or something. But I would still do it, but then I would feel like maybe some of this stress went into it. But when I was blind, every time I started to have a bad thought, like what if this happens, what if that happens, I say, no, this is going to be smooth, this is going to be cool, this is going to be peaceful and stuff. And then when I was blind, it really was like that. So now I'm going to pay attention to that the next time I do a different experiment, and I'm going to try to tell myself these type of positive things beforehand, because like with the deaf months, I'd tried it 2 times before and failed, and it was like really super painful and everything. And then when I really did it, it was like full-blown torture the whole time. And so now I wonder, like if I was to do it and not have like thought that way, like primed myself or something before doing it, maybe that type of expectation, a negative expectation of what happens, influences it to be negative once it really happens. So now I'm trying to be more, but safety comes first. So I will try to be safe, and not because I don't want to hurt myself or anything like that at all. I just want to experience as much as possible. So yeah, I think it's just.
All right, well, thank you all.